Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Saturday, July 29th, 2023. Now if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my $19 rundown best bet, you can find those at the Premium Picks tab at pickdawgz.com. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the games for Saturday in Major League Baseball. First up, it's the Los Angeles Angels taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. Reed Detmers and Alek Manoah are your starters. I can't trust Alek Manoah in this spot at Rogers Center. He just has not been able to pitch well at home this season. Much better numbers on the road, and even on the road, his last start against the Mariners, his control was not the best, but at home in 31 innings, he's got 31 walks allowed, a 9 ERA, 9 home runs allowed, a 336 opponent's batting average. Can't trust him here against an Angels team that, even without Mike Trout, is hitting right-handed pitchers very well. And in the last 30 days is number 2 in baseball in isolated power and top 10 in team OPS against righties. On the other side, Reed Detmers had a nice bounce-back outing his last start against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Even though his Angels bats did not back him up in that game, he went 5 innings, a 2-run ball with 9 strikeouts and no home runs allowed in the end. He's facing a Blue Jays team that has notably not hit lefties very well this season. Believe it or not, it's kind of surprising when they have some really good right-handed bats like Springer, Bichette, and Vladdy in the lineup, but they just have not been able to hit lefties well this season, especially in the power department. I think Detmers pitches pretty well. You always have to sweat that Angels bullpen, but I think the Angels score enough runs early on Manoah to win this game in the end. So you could split your bet between the first 5 innings and the full game, but I'm going to take the Angels in the full game on the money line. Next up is the Detroit Tigers taking on the Miami Marlins. Johnny Cueto going for the Fish, no official starter for Detroit. Johnny Cueto struggled in his Marlins debut, but followed it up with 2 nice outings against the Orioles and the Rockies. Even though the bats were not able to back him up in those games, he still went 9 innings of 1-run ball with 9 strikeouts combined and no home runs allowed. He's facing a Tigers team that in the last 30 days does not have great numbers against right-handed pitchers. They're 28th in team OPS, a little bit better in isolated power. When you look at the last 30 days, the Marlins bullpen has the second best SIERA in the league, while the Tigers bullpen has a 5.7 ERA. I'm going to take the Miami Marlins here on the money line at Lone Depot Park. Next up, we see the Cleveland Guardians taking on the Chicago White Sox. We're going to see Logan Allen for Cleveland, no official starter for the White Sox. We know a lot of things are changing for Chicago this week, as they have already dealt Lucas Giolito, Lance Lynn, Kendall Graveman, and Joe Kelly so far. Maybe some more names before this video goes out at the trade deadline. And, I do worry about them in this spot. Those are 2 of their better relievers, Kelly and Graveman gone. And now you have to replace 2 starting pitchers in your rotation. Not easy to do. You have to bring guys up. Logan Allen, he is pitching pretty well for Cleveland. I worry about the long-term aspect. He's never he's never pitched this many innings at the major league level. It's a rookie season, so you always worry about fatigue for a young starter like that. But facing a White Sox team that has not hit lefties nearly as well this year as they were in 2022 and years prior, I think Allen pitches pretty well. I think the Guardians grab another W. So give me Cleveland here on the money line on the road. Next up, we go to San Francisco as the Red Sox take on the Giants. We're going to see James Paxton for Boston. No official starter for the Giants right now, but you see Anthony DeSclafani listed on ESPN, so he could be the starter here. James Paxton's pitched pretty well for Boston this season. A little bit better numbers, actually, at Fenway Park, believe it or not, than on the road. But still on the road, 37 innings, 40 strikeouts, a 4-2 record. He's facing a Giants team that we've mentioned has struggled offensively against lefties this year and in the last 30 days. When you look at the numbers, San Francisco is 23rd in isolated power against lefties and 29th in team OPS. I do think they struggle here offensively. Anthony DeSclafani has not pitched well at Oracle Park this season, even though it's a very pitcher-friendly ballpark. 4.61 ERA there. Not really in the best of form going into this start. So if he is in fact the starter here, don't love his chances. Give me the Boston Red Sox on the money line on the road. Next up, we see the Philadelphia Phillies taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. We're going to see Quinn Priester and Aaron Nola on the mound in this one. Priester has struggled at his first 2 starts with the Pirates. Makes me wonder if he is MLB ready right now. His first 2 starts, 10 2/3 innings, 11 earned runs, 4 home runs allowed to the Guardians and the Padres. And the Phillies don't have the best numbers against right-handed pitchers offensively in the last month or so, but I still think they'll be able to get to Quinn Priester, and I also think Nola is the much better option in this game. Now, Nola's been a lot better at Citizens Bank Park, in his career and this season, but still, you look at his last 5 games, he's been able to go very deep into ball games, and this is already a good Phillies bullpen, but it really helps your team in general when your starting pitcher can go that deep. 7 innings, 7 1/3, 6, 7 1/3 his last 4 starts. His last game, a quality start against the Guardians, 7 innings, 3 runs, 7 strikeouts. Not easy to strike out that Guardians team, so pretty impressive stuff for Nola. The Phillies are 4-1 in his last 5 starts. Give me the Phillies on the run like here on the road. Next up, we go to the NL East as the Washington Nationals take on the New York Mets. We're going to see Patrick Corbin and Carlos Carrasco on the mound in this one. Don't trust either of these starting pitching options. Don't love either of these bullpens, especially with the Mets bullpen already struggling, now losing David Robertson, arguably their best reliever this season, in a trade to the Marlins. Carlos Carrasco's last 7 innings of work against the Red Sox and White Sox, 16 base hits, 9 earned runs. He is struggling in the month of July. On the other side, Patrick Corbin, he is struggling in the month of July, a 5.7 ERA so far in 23 2/3 innings, and he's played in a lot of high-scoring games, 10-6, 17-3, 7-2, and 8-4 in his 4 starts in July. I got to take the over here in Washington, New York. Next up, we see the Minnesota Twins taking on the Kansas City Royals. Bailey Ober and Jordan Lyles are your starters. I'm going to take a shot here with the home underdogs in Kansas City. I know it's not easy taking the Royals when Jordan Lyles has been on the mound this year, but I do think he is objectively pitching better now than he was at the beginning of the season. In the month of July so far, 16 innings, a 3.38 ERA. Yes, he struggled in his last start against the Yankees, but it was really just one bad inning, that first inning at Yankee Stadium where he gave up those 4 runs. But after that inning, he went four innings of 1-run ball the rest of the way with 3 strikeouts as well. And, before that game, he was pitching well against the Tigers and Guardians, 11 innings combined, 1 run. I think he pitches okay in this game. I think it's good enough for the Royals to compete here. And on the other side, Bailey Ober's given up a lot of sharp contact recently. 3 home runs his last 2 starts combined. Ober throws a lot of strikes. He doesn't really walk a lot of guys, has good control, but sometimes those strikes go down the heart of the plate. And, Kansas City, believe it or not, even though this is not a great offensive team this year, they're actually 10th and 11th in exit velocity and hard hit percentage as a team. So I do think, they're lowering their strikeout rate. Their lineup's getting a little bit healthier. I think they compete here against Bailey Ober. We're getting a really good price with Kansas City. I'll sprinkle a little bit on the money line and take those 1.5 runs on the run line as well. Next up, we go to the NL Central as the Chicago Cubs take on the St. Louis Cardinals. Jamison Tyone and Adam Wainwright are your starters. Pretty brutal pitching matchup in this one. Tyone an ERA above 5.7, Wainwright above 7.3. But I do think Tyone is the slightly better option here. I think the Cubs are just playing better baseball right now. They played well in that Chicago White Sox series, took care of business at Wrigley Field against these Cardinals. And, their offense is doing pretty well against right-handed pitchers. Their bullpen's been better than St. Louis as of late. I'll take a stab here with the Chicago Cubs on the money line on the road. Next up, we see the New York Yankees taking on the Baltimore Orioles. We're going to see Clark Schmidt and Tyler Wells on the mound. And I do think Clark Schmidt is actually the better option right now in the starting pitching department than Tyler Wells. I just don't love the form that Tyler Wells is in. Giving up a lot of sharp contact, a lot of earned runs. We've seen his last 6 1/3 innings, 8 earned runs allowed. His control's also starting to go a little bit. 6 walks allowed in his last 2 starts combined. The Yankees, even though their numbers aren't great against right-handed pitchers in the last month, they do have a pretty low strikeout rate and a high walk rate. So I think that could be an issue for Tyler Wells. Clark Schmidt has been improving, since the beginning of the season where he really struggled. I think he had an ERA above 6 or maybe even 7 at one point, but now it's at 4.33 on the season. His last start wasn't his best against the Royals, but the Yankees still got the W in the end. And in fact, the Yankees have won 4 of the last 5 starts for Clark Schmidt, including his game against these Orioles back on July 4th. I think the Yankees take the lead at the end of the first 5 innings. I don't like the Yankees bullpen right now, so I'm just going to take the Yankees on the money line in the first 5. Next up, we see the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the Houston Astros. Taj Bradley and Hunter Brown are your starters. I think both of these starting pitchers have had their fair share of inconsistencies lately. Hunter Brown last 4 starts, the Astros are 1-3 in those games. So, some of those outings he's been better than others. Like the last start against the A's, he went 6 innings, 2 runs, but he only had 4 strikeouts, and then when he gave up another home run. Before that, he struggled against the Rockies at Coors Field and against the Mariners at Minute Maid Park in a 10-1 Mariners win. So Brown, hasn't been in the best of form, but neither is Taj Bradley, who's given up a lot of home runs recently and overall this season. But I do think when you look at both of these starting pitchers, they don't usually go too deep into ball games. When you look at Bradley, he's been 5 innings or less his last 5. Hunter Brown's only gone 6 or more in 2 of his last 5. So I do think, the bullpens are probably going to dictate who's going to win this game in the end. And I think the Tampa Bay Rays have the better bullpen right now. Houston, in the last 30 days, their bullpen ERA-wise and expected number-wise has not been great. Tampa Bay's really made some improvements since the beginning of the season, where they were one of the worst bullpens in terms of expected numbers at the beginning of the season. But I like Tampa Bay Rays in this matchup on the road, and we're getting a pretty good price, so I'm going to take them on the money line. Next up, we see the Milwaukee Brewers taking on the Atlanta Braves. Julio Teheran and Bryce Elder are your starters. And we saw the same pitching matchup last week on July 23rd. It was a 4-2 Braves win in that game. But both starting pitchers pitched really well in that one. Teheran went 6 innings, 1 run, 5 strikeouts, no walks against a very good Braves lineup. Elder went 6 innings, 2 runs, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts in his start. And it was a game that was decided late. It was a tie game going into the 8th inning, and we saw a 2-run home run from Ozzie Albies in the bottom or the top of that 8th inning to win the game in the end. But I think it's fair to say we can expect another close game in this one. And if it's going to be a close game, I think we take the shot here with the underdogs in the Milwaukee Brewers getting a really good price. Right now I'm seeing plus 175 on the money line. The Brewers bullpen's really made improvements. At the beginning of the season, wasn't my favorite, but in the last 30 days, a 2.98 ERA and a 2.83 SIERA is the best in baseball. I'm going to take a shot here with Milwaukee on the money line because I think it's going to be a close game decided late. Next up, we see the Seattle Mariners taking on the Arizona Diamondbacks. Brian Wu and Brandon Pfaadt are your starters. Now, Brian Wu's not in the best form right now. He struggled against the Blue Jays and Twins his last couple of starts, but those are tough lineups, and I do think that the Mariners are just playing better baseball right now compared to Arizona, who, Brandon Pfaadt, his first start back at the Major League level, he had a quality start on paper, but he gave up 3 home runs in the end against Cincinnati in a 4-2 Diamondbacks loss. And he's got an 0-4 record with an 8.81 ERA so far at the Major League level, an ERA above 10 at Chase Field. The Diamondbacks bullpen's also struggled. Arizona's just not playing great baseball overall, so I'm going to lean towards Seattle on the money line on the road. Next up, we go to San Diego as the Padres take on the Rangers. Martin Perez and Yu Darvish are your starters. Man, Yu Darvish has been so inconsistent lately. It's crazy to see. He pitched so well against the Phillies and the Blue Jays, 2 winning teams, 2 tough lineups. He goes 12 innings combined on the road, one earned run combined in those 2 starts, at 16 strikeouts as well in an 8-3 and 2-0 Padres win. Then he follows it up facing the Pittsburgh Pirates, one of the worst lineups in baseball in the last couple of months against righties. Gives up in 4 1/3 innings, 8 base hits, 7 earned runs, and 4 home runs in an 8-4 Padres loss. I don't know what to expect from Darvish in this game. The Padres are pretty big favorites here, but I can't get there with San Diego with Darvish's last start. And, that was at Petco Park. He's pitching here at home as well. The Texas Rangers have good numbers against right-handed pitchers this season and in the last month. But I don't trust Martin Perez either, who is notably struggling as well for the Rangers. He has struggled on the road with an ERA just below 6 on the year, away from Globe Life Field. The Padres have pretty good numbers against lefties this year. Give me the over here in Rangers-Padres. Next up, we go to Coors Field as the A's take on the Rockies. No official starter for Colorado right now. We should see Paul Blackburn going for the A's. It's going to be his first career start at Coors Field. It's kind of been an up and down season for Blackburn. We know he started the season on the IL, and he has a 5.06 ERA overall this year, with a little bit steeper numbers on the road at 5.82. His last start against the Astros was really solid, 5 1/3 innings, 1 run, and a 4-1 A's win. But before that, he gave up 6 earned runs and 9 base hits against the Boston Red Sox in a 7-0 A's loss. So, like I said, pretty inconsistent season so far for Blackburn. I worry that it's going to be, his first start at Coors Field in his career. He could struggle. Don't love this Rockies bullpen, but I do think it's going to be good enough here for the Rockies to win the game in the end. So I'm going to take the Colorado Rockies on the money line in a lean. And the final game for Saturday's card in Major League Baseball, it's the Cincinnati Reds and the Los Angeles Dodgers. Luke Weaver and Emmett Sheehan are your projected starters in this one. I think the Dodgers are going to win this game. I think there's going to be a lot of runs scored in this one as well. I like the over, and you can take the Dodgers on the run line. I don't love Emmett Sheehan right now, but I do think the Dodgers will score a lot of runs on Luke Weaver and this not great Reds bullpen. Luke Weaver, an ERA above 7 on the season, a little bit better on the road, but still an ERA above 6 there. And he's giving up a lot of base hits, a lot of extra base hits, and plenty of home runs this year as well. 20 home runs in 80 innings of work. You're facing a Dodgers team now going into Dodger Stadium, a Dodgers team that's 4th in isolated power and number 1 in team OPS against righties in the last month, a very low strikeout rate and a very high walk rate at 11.8%. To me, this looks like a disaster matchup for Luke Weaver. And like I said, the Reds bullpen in the last month, even though the ERA is good, the expected numbers are not 3rd worst SIERA in baseball in the last month. On the other side, like I mentioned, I'm not in love with Emmett Sheehan right now. He is struggling to locate that fastball, and his secondary pitches are not very good right now. So if he's not locating the fastball, he's just not a viable option on the mound. So I do think he could struggle as well. I think the Dodgers bats will be able to back him up, though. So give me the over in this one between Cincinnati and Los Angeles. And that's it. Those are the games for Saturday in baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.